societies. Over to you, Manila.
Thank you, Niranjana. A very good evening to all of you. I am Manila Rajapaksha and the co-chairman of Project InnovMind. And I thank you all who are joining with us via Facebook and YouTube Live from Sri Lanka and also our friends from overseas. Sorry for the technical issue with the YouTube Live. We'll try to fix that as soon as possible. So the IEEE Industry Application Society Student Branch Chapter of Sri Lanka Technological Campus. It is the latest addition to the IEEE family of SLTC, and it has pioneered in conducting projects to improve the advancement of technology and gifting many young, energetic tech enthusiasts to the community. Now you all have been there with InnovMind from the beginning of our workshop series, and you have a good idea about InnovMind. And today, this panel discussion is organized to clarify all the doubts you got when you started implementing your IoT project. And so you can scan the QR code and visit our official Facebook page for more updates on our project and the latest updates ongoing with the InnovMind Ideathon. And also, don't worry if you have missed any of the workshop series. You can still log into our YouTube channel and look them and get an idea about the workshop series. So next, Niranjana will inform you about how to submit your questions from our panel.
Okay, thank you, Manila. So before we move further, I think there's no issue with the YouTube live session. It's going on. Everyone can hear in the YouTube live session. So if anyone joined with the FB live session because of that technical issue, I warmly invite you all to join with our YouTube live again. So before we move further, I would like to explain you the functionality of today's panel discussion. This webinar will be broadcasted only via YouTube and Facebook live streams. And also we'll be hosting a live Q&A session to answer all of your questions. So please make sure to drop in all of your questions and comments through our Q&A platform, Pigeonhole throughout the panel discussion. You will find the link in the YouTube chat box as well as the YouTube FB live stream comment section about the Q&A platform. So below, I would like to encourage our participants to vote on any question which might be of interest to you so we can provide a higher priority to them. Due to the time constraints of today, sometimes we will not be able to answer all your questions, but we will give another solution for that. You can follow our guest speakers via their social media and send them a message and ask them for their available time to discuss about your questions, and then you can contact them in a proper time for them. So let's move on with today's panel discussion. So I'm over to you, Manila. Let's move on to the panel discussion and let's start with that.
Yeah, so Niranjana already introduced you the panelists for today's session. So without wasting much time, let's move to the first round of the panel discussion. And today we will discuss about implementing a home automation system. Home automation systems are somewhat new to Sri Lanka, because of the technological gap we have with the exponentially rising technological advancement in the world. So today we will get a good idea about how to create a home automation system integrating with IoT. So moving on, the first topic, the first question is going to be forwarded to Thilina sir, and that is, if we want to make a smart home on our own, where should we start? Because there are various types of home automation systems, and we want to know what are the home automation systems, the types, and how do we start to make a smart home? I mean, from the basic step of identification of the problem, how do we start a home automation system? Thilina sir, it's over to you.
Thank you, Manila. Thank you, Niranjana. It's a good question to start with. In fact, I like the idea of starting with a real use case or a real case study rather than starting to talk about theoretical aspects, this is pretty good, because we are talking about something really happening, and it's happening everywhere. People, when thinking about IoT, when thinking about technology, most of the youngsters who are readily going to start the session, they'll first hear about home automation systems. They will get examples about home automation systems. When universities teach about IoT and these new technologies, they will start teaching about home automation systems. So everyone has now almost heard about home automation systems. We know about this. But here's the point is this. I like to think in terms of three questions whenever I get a personal project like this. There are three aspects to think about that. Number one is what to do, and number two is how to do, and number three is why we should do it. But what to do and how to do, typically you can learn very fast. You can learn anywhere. You can learn from other people. You can learn from internet. You can easily model how other people have done this already. What questions are how questions I believe are little bit less important question, which I personally believe is the why question. First question to you, if you are thinking of this, is why are you planning to do this? Because there are many others already built. Why are you going to do this again? Why are you going to rebuild the thing? Is there a reason? Because learning, brilliant. Please go ahead, do this, learn. But if, let's say, I'm going to treat this as a client project. If a client wants you to deliver a home automation system, why should you do it? What's the difference between the existing things and what you think of? I believe that's the first question that you should ask from yourself, which we typically call the value proposition. What's the value that you are going to bring out of this project? So in terms of the bigger project, I like to ask first, why are you doing this? So probably as a student, you might find that most of the things you don't have to do because things are already there. Cheaper ones are already there. Other people like, the team members who are here, they have used their platforms easily, probably do automation already. Probably Gavesh has some for you. Probably you can use that. The point is, if you are bringing something new, ask the question why you should do it from the scratch. I would ask, should I do the things and get the solution? Two different one, which is building by yourself, or you love technology works. Number two, you bring something from eBay, from what other people have done. You bring it, you fix it. That's number two. And that's what we call solution providing. So it's actually two approaches. Number one is more towards researching, learning. Number two is more on solution providing. So first, who like go from the bottom to the top, like start from the scratch and go to the top, which will take time, or whether you're a solution provider. Solution provider means you solution that others have already done, the modules, fix them together and provide solution as fast as possible. Now, solution providing and starting something from the scratch are two different things. These are two different things. You can think of by yourself and bring a solution like home automation system, or you can simply find and make a home automation system just in 2 days. What do you like to do? What's your end objective? That's why I said why question is the most important question. Now, if you ask me, I'm pretty interested in giving a solution to someone, solving some problem. So probably if you ask me right now, I might not go for starting from the scratch. But if you're learning, I highly encourage, and I agree, yes, sometimes you will have to start from the scratch and go to the top. Now in technology, if you think of these two approaches, you can define them in some I would say, some technological language. You may have heard of this called top-down approach and bottom-up approach. These are two methods that you can approach a problem. So your question was how to approach this question. I see these two ways. Number one is you can either go for the starting from the scratch and ending, which is research-like approach, or you can just buy stuff, fix it, give a solution, which is fast. Now, those are two different approaches. And number two is you can use, if you're planning to build something by your own, you can use the top-down approach or the bottom-up. And first you lay out the bigger question, and then you slowly later focus on small, minute components. First, you don't worry about the minute components. Instead, you first lay out the bigger problem. You lay out the bigger problem, and then you go to individual components later. That's top-down. So you start from top. Imagine this as a triangle. Top means you start thinking about the top, the bigger problem, and you slowly go into small things. So in that approach, you think about hardware last. You think about the code writing last. You think about selection of language bit later. You think of whether to use this algorithm or that algorithm later. That's top down. And then you have the bottom up approach. Bottom up means you first focus on the modules. You focus on the lowest level modules. You design a communication module first. You design a Bluetooth module first. And you design a communication between modules. Likewise, you focus on the lowest level modules. And then you start connecting the modules one by one, so that at the end you have the total solution. These are two different approaches. You can first think of from the top and slowly go to the beginning, go down, and where the minute specific details will be at last, at the end. Or you can take the bottom-up approach and first think in terms of the lowest level, go to the little bit of minor details, and slowly build up them so that you have the end solution. Now, if you ask me what I would choose in this specific case for this home automation, I would personally select the top-down approach, because I personally like to think first in terms of the bigger problem, lay out the bigger architecture, think in terms of the entire solution, lay out the entire solution in terms of hardware, in terms of software, in terms of architecture, in terms of business viability, in terms of all these aspects at the very highest level. Think from the highest level, lay down a plan, and then slowly work on individual components later. So for me, if I choose top-down approach, things like finding the best algorithm, things like finding whether it is MQTT or RabbitMQ or whatever the other algorithms, interconnecting modules, languages, all these things will come later. What's more important for me is to lay down the bigger architecture, the bigger layout. And then we can slowly go inside. Sometimes I will find later that I don't have to do some things myself, because I can just use other people's knowledge. Things are already there, open and free. Code portions are already there. Hardware, modules are already there. People have already done some of the things. Sometimes we will not need to do everything from the scratch by ourselves. So my point is, probably we should consider these two approaches. I hope I shed some light on that, and I'm pretty sure my other friends will be able to shed some more light on the minute level or the ground level details, such as hardware, software, and the rest of the things.
Yes, wow, it was a valuable explanation about home automation system. And if someone want to make a home automation system on their own, I think it was so valuable for them. So let's move on with our next questions. And I want to make a smart home. So I have an idea. I have a better idea to make my home smart. And I have an idea about the home automation system, but how I going to choose the better hardware parts to my IoT project? So Ushan sir, the question goes to you. If we are going to develop a home automation system on our own, how do we choose hardware parts for that?
Okay, so hi, good evening, young innovators. I'm pretty much sure now you're working on a really interesting project for the InnovMind. And Niranjana put me the hardest question that you ask from the engineer. How you're going to select the hardware? Okay. The first thing, I really appreciate what Thilina mentioned, that you first need to think about why you are doing this, because innovator is awesome. You're inventing something is really awesome, but making it really useful is the first and last thing. So start from that question and go for your target. Okay, right now. Now think about now we are talking about smart home. So you can make a home smart by making a simple thing. Okay, I'm pretty much sure you already have brilliant ideas. So you can just turn off your light when you're leaving home. By doing that, you can save a lot of energy, right? So we have, there are energy crises right now. A lot of, due to, things happen in the, because of, weather changes and everything. So doing a small thing can be a real smart thing. So to do something like that, you can think about, simple things. For example, if you want to control an LED, I'm just telling about, sample with the sample example, to turn off your, turn off on your LED lights, you can go for something really, available in the market. Okay, for example, you can pretty much go for something like Wi-Fi in that example, because sometimes people think, okay, actually I get a lot of questions about these things from innovators like you, beginners like you. Sir, I have a LoRa module. Is that okay to use that LoRa module to control my home? It's okay, as Thilina mentioned, it's totally okay if you're going to learn about the LoRa. But when it comes to real application, LoRa is about long range communication. It is about 4 kilometers away. So when you're selecting something specific, just think about the infrastructure you have in the home. If you have, I'm pretty much sure everyone have Wi-Fi in your home. Okay, Bluetooth at least. Okay, because you have smartphones, then you have Bluetooth, obviously. So think about those kind of available platforms for you, instead of going for something there are new technologies always. Now this field is rapidly updating in this IoT area. It's sort of hot topic in right now in the world. So there are new technologies coming out. So don't go for those kind of platforms unless you want to learn about those things. So my first advice is to stick into whatever the standard available, infrastructures. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth kind of thing are really awesome to start. Again, I think to highlight something when it comes to IoT. Some people think that IoT is about wireless communication. It's not. Okay. When it comes to home automation systems, you don't have to focus on Wi-Fi kind of things. You can use a power line communication. It's a typical power line. You are using AC line, your AC power line to communicate with what are the home appliances in your home. That's still work. And there are standard modules. You can, you don't have to invest much of, a lot of time to, build those things. You can buy those modules and, plug it and get started. So that's how we, get started with selecting, what are the things you want. So everything start with the question, why I am doing this? If you have a real idea what I am going to do, you can come up with a list of hardware, or list of technologies what I can pick for this one. Think about your budget. Think about your infrastructure, whatever the availability in your home. Okay, since we are talking about home, so go for something like that. So that is the pretty much easiest way when you think about the home automation. Think about, start from a small step. If you are a beginner, especially, so, you have really great ideas, what you are doing, but when it comes to implementations, if you are a beginner, start from doing one by one. Just try to start the LED first and then go for, something big. Go for the AC current and everything, just go for the DC and everything. So likewise, go from small steps and then you can figure out how to, complete your project. So go for my first thing, you have to select whatever the infrastructure you have available easily. So when it comes to homes, I pretty much, refer Wi-Fi, Bluetooth kind of things, because you have the availability and there are a lot of resources for you. So go for something like that. Then you can go for, Zigbee, Thread kind of technologies based on the complexity. So, if you know what you're doing, you can understand what is the best technology I need. You can, think about Thread, Zigbee kind of thing once you understand these things. So that's the thing I need to mention here. So if you have any questions further, we can discuss about the selecting your hardware, because projects are vivid. There are a lot of options we have to select, even for single sensifier. So best thing, try to go for the available things and the standard most easily available hardware platforms for you. So I think it gives you your basic explanation. If you have further question, we can discuss later, and other colleagues in this panel discussion will also, fill you up with really useful information to complete your awesome home automation projects.
Yes, and that this thing. It was really hard to say what are the what are we need to do a home automation when we talk about home automation systems. There are various types of home automation systems, so we can't explain in 1 hour about those hardware parts. So I think Mr. Ushan have give you a best answer for that. So if you have another questions with you, you can use our Pigeonhole platform and ask there. And when we start our Q&A session, you will able to get your answers. So the next question goes to Ranjan sir. Ranjan sir, if we want to design a PCB on our own, so we have started our home automation system, and I want to make my own PCB. I want to design a PCB on my own. How do we do that? Is there any procedure to do that?
Yeah, Niranjana, shall we share my screen?
Yeah, sure, sir, you can.
So I guess you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, so when it comes to the hardware implementation, so PCB is kind of a major role, right? So then, all right, so when you come to the PCB design, actually we have to test our circuit first of all, right? So like Thilina mentioned, if you are a beginner, so definitely you will find some available hardware stuff, and you will collect those things, and using breadboard or Vero board, or sometimes using wire wrapping, any kind of prototyping method. First of all, you have to build your hardware, right? So then you can upload first firmware into that, and you can write your things, right? So then also you have to do simulations and virtual simulation all together. You have to do before go to the PCB design, right? So because sometimes you have to change the hardware later, because if you want to change some hardware requirement like pin mapping change or something like that, sometimes if you already done the PCB, it's really difficult. It will take some time and things like that, right? So I highly recommend before going to the PCB design, you must do this simulation and breadboard, Vero board testing and everything, right? So then you have a confidence about pin mapping and all. So then you can go to the PCB design. So when you go to the PCB design, actually there are two parts basically. You can design a simple single layer PCB design in-house, right? Or you can make a high quality PCB not from local. Sometimes you can use some services, right? Also, as I mentioned, if you are a beginner or university students, most of the time we try to make quick prototyping PCBs, right, in-house. So then when we come to the single layer PCB designs, actually we can do this very simply. I'll explain it later slide. And when we design for homemade PCB for your project, you have to consider about a couple of things, right? So because when you go for a homemade PCB design, the track length should be very at least around 0.8 to 1 millimeter. Otherwise, those track will be damaged, right? Also, you have to avoid this type of 90-degree angle, right? So this I saw a lot of beginners are making PCB traces like that, right? So you must avoid these traces because this 90-degree angle act as an antennas, right? So you must avoid these routing strategies, right? So then also you have to add this ground port, right? So there are a lot of reasons. Please go to the PCB design session, then you can learn a lot of things, right? And most of them you have to select two-hole component. for the single layer PCB design. Otherwise, we can design PCB for the SMD component, but it's pretty difficult to solve then, right? Also, so these are my opinion when you go for the single layer PCB design in-house, right? So after that, you can design your PCBs like this. So first of all, you need to have a laser printer and sticker papers, right? So that means if you have this type of sticker paper, you can remove top part, and this yellow part, there is a shiny surface, right? So you have to print your PCB in this layer using laser printer, right? So it should be a bottom or top layer, mostly a bottom layer, right? Then you have to take into the printout using laser printer, and you can have a small procedure, right? So you must go to the YouTube to follow those procedures. Like this way, you can. This is called toner transfer method, right? You can get copper board from the market, right? And you have to clean this copper board first, right? So then you have to get a printout like this into the sticker paper, and you're using your iron, right? So then you can transfer this toner into the copper board, right? So there is a small procedure. Please follow the procedure in YouTube, right? And you can remove that sticker paper. Then those toner will transfer into copper board like this, right? So before wash the PCB, I mean using chemical, you can wash this PCB, right? So it's a chemical process. So before going to that process, you have to correct these cracks, right? So sometimes those cracks can be collide, right, or damaged. So you must clean all these things before go to the chemical process. Normally, we can use ferric chloride to make this type of homemade PCB, right? So after that, once you create a PCB like this, you must drill those holes, and you can apply some resin. Otherwise, this copper will oxidize, right? Like this way, you can make a homemade PCB, right? It's a little bit small process. Go to the YouTube and follow that process. It's called toner transfer method, right? If you want to make kind of a mass manufacturing homemade PCB, you can go for the screen printing method, right? So this is the way how most of local people are making single layer PCB in mass manufacturing. It's called screen printing technology, right? But if you want to design a very professional PCB like this, right? So you must go to the some kind of a PCB designer sites, and you can order online PCB. And for that, you have to make grabber files, right? So then you can upload those grabber file into that type of website, and mostly 2-3 weeks you will get the PCB. So for this one, you have to have big knowledge, right? So first thing is you must follow the manufacturer capability, right? So otherwise, you can design the PCB without thinking PCB manufacturer capability, then they cannot make it, right? Especially track length and wire hole sizes and so many things, right? So that file can include to our PCB design tool, and we can test all rules. So then we can go to the PCB design like this, but it will cost, and it will take some time. You can decide what you want. Mostly for the beginner, quickly we can make single layer PCB, but if you want to make high quality PCB, go for the multi-layer PCB design service like that. Right? So that's my answer for that question.
Yes, thank you. So it was so much valuable answer for us. So, and another small question I want to ask from you, that just a question from our colleague. So if we want to make a security system now as a home automation system, what are the modules can be used for face recognition?
Yeah. So before go to that question, I have a small things to share with you. So when you come to the small automation system, we can do a lot of projects, right? Think about your real problem, kind of a pain point you're suffering from when you're in a home. So then you can think about new innovation like this. So you can provide water to the garden. You can control this type of system, and you can automate this system, maybe real time or the internet you can control. Or you can monitor power consumption in your home, and you can make your meter into the smart pay, or you can convert this mailbox into the smart pay. Sometimes when we leave house, we have to feed food to the animals or fish. Then we can create this type of gadget by your own, right? Or sometimes we can monitor tank water level. Like this, we can do so many interesting projects, right? So your question is related to something like this. So we can build a very interesting project called smart doorbell kind of a thing using a vision system. Actually, so before going to the real question, we can get those type of things from the market, right? So there are some abundant projects that we can purchase from the market for that project, right? Also, I have another interesting popular gadget called sun off, right? So it's something like this. So this gadget is very useful when you do small smart automation system, or you can build your own DIY system like this way. You can build it, right? Actually, you can connect both system into one platform. It is called hybrid system, right? So that means you can get purchase from the well-known product from the market, or you can build your own system, and something like IEEE or whatever IoT platform, you can combine those two. It's called a kind of a hybrid system when you come to the smart home automation. So think about your project, your question. So we can build something like this. It's called a smart doorbell, right? Think about when you leave a house, right? So someone will come in front of your home, and then if you are not in the home, your phone, it will get notification, something like this, right? So then you can click that notification and you can turn on the camera, right? So if the door has this kind of a gadget, simply you can communicate with them, and if it is a family member, you can turn on the door, right? So simply you can build this type of a project. Actually, I'm not talking about this is the only solution, but for just to give a quick idea, so ESP32 CAM is very popular, right? So as Ushan mentioned, this is one of the best module, right? So, but you can go to the other modules, depend on the project. But this ESP32 CAM, you can quickly connect with the Wi-Fi module, and using some third-party app like Blink or whatever open source platform, you can quickly create your project. You can get PIR sensors, servo motors, you can integrate all these things, and you can quickly make some kind of a remote camera. Also, you can control the motors, right? So think about this type of project. You can use ESP32 camera. It's very small module, something like this, right? Or you can go for this type of Raspberry Pi camera. You can use Raspberry Pi boards, something like this, right? So then you can build a very interesting project, right? So not tied down to this hardware. You can go for any hardware, but I just give a idea, right? So this is also one of very important thing when you go to the smart home automation. As Ushan mentioned, you don't want to change the hardware in house. That means you don't want to rewire the system. Nowadays, there is a protocol called extend. It's kind of a power line communication, right? So that means through the power line, we can control the devices. Each and every devices, we should add the hardware and we can give an address, right? So then we can communicate with them very easily, right? So so this is one of hardware called right. So this way, if you think about in your house, if you have a big house, right? So then everywhere you don't have a internet, right? So if you only have one router, right? So then what we can do, we can connect this router into the plug socket, 230 plug socket in your house, right? So then through the power line, we can communicate the data, right? So then this bulb, it acts as a switch, Wi-Fi switch, right? Repeater. So then through this power line, you can transfer the data into here, and this bulbs act as a hotspot. then you can get the internet, right? So not only that, there are so many applications of this about power line communication, right? And you have to think about the sensor we can use for smart home automation, like PIR sensor and AC current measuring system sensors and humidity sensor, water controlling switches, and also this is also one interesting sensor that I used recently. It's called lightning sensor, right? So we can use this sensor to detect the lightning, right? So if you have any lightning condition around 40 kilometers away in your house, we can detect it using this sensor, right? So likewise, we can build very interesting thing, and also think about the backup plan. You have to think about backup plan. Otherwise, when internet or power is gone, everything will be shut down, right? So think about this type of backup plan when you are going to the IoT project, especially smart home automation system, right? So that's those things I have to share with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ranjan sir, for that lengthy explanation. Our next question goes to Shameera sir. So when we consider home automation systems integrating with IoT, there's some kind of app development on our own, like web applications or Android app. So when we consider topics like collecting the data using a cloud or UI development, Shameera sir, could you please explain about these things?
Good evening to all, and thank you for the question. When you're taking as a story, now we have discussed with our other speakers like how to think about the device, how to plan the project and everything, and now it's come to a kind of connecting with the cloud. So before to come into the question, like I would like to get a pitch, like as Thilina said clearly, like why you want to move with the question why. So then I'm coming to the place like why you want to move with the cloud. So as an example, when you talk about a home automation system, like 50%, more than 50%, like less than 70% times, we are talking about send something and execute. That's always happening when it comes to home automation system. Like you might have a kind of think about you want to automate your lighting system. You can do something like since it is the dark, it's night, switch on it. If you have AC controls, you want to on it. Likewise, most of the water level tanks, the water is low, sense it, execute it. So the point now come to my questions like why you want to move with the cloud. It's just because of you want to control your house, or you want to sense the data remotely. So I will get another example when you guys wanted to think about how to design the application and how to develop the mobile applications, anything to control these kind of devices. Okay, I will take an example like this. Okay, Ranjan made a good about this explain technology. There is a most popular one with communicate over power, and I'm just asking this kind of a concept. So when the practical issue is when you're automating a house, I think about I'm going to take you guys to the next level. Like you are going to do a commercial product. Then you have to think about the why concept, like how you are going to give a solution to the customer. Who are having a normal typical house. So then people are saying, okay, as a good example, so you know what is smart switches. So the practical issue is when you want to fix this smart switch, you have to break the wall again because it has a kind of a little big size compared to the normal box. So you have to break it. So those are the practical issues customers are facing when you're going for this kind of a scenario. So think what I'm just talking about. If you want to convert your existing can be 40-watt light or LED light or something to a smart light. I'm just kidding. What about thinking doing a small adapter concept? So what you can do is you have an adapter. It might be contained with ESP32 or something, communicate to the Wi-Fi, as other speakers say. But what it is a plug and play concept. You just plug that adapter to the existing holder, and then you have the light. So then you are making a plug and play module. So the next point what we have to think is, before coming to the cloud applications, so if we have multiple adapters like this, Are you going to communicate all these with the remote, like, to add control device, you need address. Basically, in my last session, I explained, like, if you want to communicate with someone, you need the identification, or if you want to send a letter to the home, you need a postal address. Likewise, you need to have a communication address. So then you have to go with this hub and module concept kind of things. I think Ranjan's presentation also had the same concept, the having the route and communication with others. So that is the place you have to think before coming to the cloud. You need to have a one device where you communicate with, and that device need to communicate with your modules, sub-modules. Because you cannot develop an application. If you're going planning to develop an application where you can control remotely individual devices, that won't happen. It won't be practical, and it will be a huge cost for your customers. So think about if you're having a single hub where you're connecting, and you can have more sub-modules. I just got an example as a light switch adapters. You can communicate with each device. And the next point. So why you want to convert this all the concepts, like switch on the AC before you come to the home, because in a room, if it's need to be cool, it will take like 5 minutes to get the exact condition. And if you are outside the home, maybe you are coming to like you may be coming late at in night. So you want to switch on all your outside lights to indicate that you are at house. So those are the remote concepts you want to address. So think about we are talking about you have the remote control for open the gate in the garage, but you can have another module to connect it with the existing roller gate concept, and you can control them remotely. And the other part is, if you're outside the home, the sensing part. If you have motion sensors, you need to get alerted if there is any critical movements in the house. Then these are the concepts. So now we are coming to the implementation of cloud technologies, how to address everything, because now we have a requirement. These are the things, because now most of the things when you're calling about automation, sense and execute. Now, next part, the mobile application or web application. So do you have to decide why? What am I going to do with? How you are going to control scenarios? So I have answered the concept called hub and module. You want to communicate with a single hub. It can be connected to your internet, or maybe you can produce a hub which have a SIM where you connect to the cloud. So that is the marketing points. So you can have two hubs kind of connected to Wi-Fi. It means your existing customer need to have a good integration with the Wi-Fi capable. If not, you are giving a full component. It's enabled with the SIM. You can communicate with the cloud. Now you have the access to your device. Now you can do whatever you want. The thing you have to decide is how you are going to do the mobile or the web application scenario. Most of the time, when it comes to this kind of implementation, we are talking about consumers. Like, it means not industry, like multiple people get access to this kind of application. It's like consumer applications, like individual person. I have the device, I have the control, I am controlling the environment. So then the mobile is the most suitable scenario. So mobile applications, when you are developing, you have to think on this angle as well. So how we are going to globalize the platform? Like, it should be plug and play. If you are plugging a new module to your hub, your software also should be capable of identifying that module and controlling it. So when you are designing an architecture for this kind of mobile application and cloud application, always you have to think about how you are going to modularize it. So it is not practical when you are going to do a push update to the mobile application, saying, okay, we introduce this kind of a device, so you take an update. So those are the concepts you need to think about when you are developing the software. The hardware part, my all other colleagues address very well. How to think about everything. It's same applied for your software as well. How you are going to do it. So when it comes to the technologies, so in my session also, I am just a master in Microsoft environment and Azure controls. So I demonstrate the real example on my session, like how you can control devices. Okay, in the same way. So only just a matter is passing the telemetry. You don't want to have the public IP to anything. For that kind of a scenario, if you're going to remote control remotely control your device, you need to have a kind of a gateway. So if you think about doing something in your house for your house automation, you can simply get a public IP, or you can have a DDNS dynamic scenario, and you can control it, your mobile or Bluetooth or something. But when you come to the real world marketed products, you need best thing is to control those things with the gateway. So the other key point, which I explained right in the previous sessions also, like in future, like there might be a possibility getting locked in your own car. The same concept. If your application is less secure, it means you are going to open up your house for the hackers or theft easily. Like if you can consider like door lock scenario, if you are able to open it outsiders from the remotely, so if you are not your communication platform and everything is not encrypted, it's not properly secure. So then the rest other part I want to highlight is when it comes to the commercialized product, how you are going to control your customers and giving the tenant tax issues the module like application like because one customer cannot see others' data. So it's become kind of a tree concept. You are talking about one good idea, but when you're going to the real world production, you have to think about, okay, I'm talking about first 5 customers, then it will be eventually expanded to 10, 15, 20, 100, 500. So then your application should be tailorized to that individual customers. So the best thing is when it comes to the home automation concept, you have to work with client base for the client mobile application, and you need to have a tenant-based system where you can control all the customers to get access and introduce modules. So the IoT hub scenario, you can do that one, or IoT edge, those concepts. IoT edge is like you have certified technologies, it's a plug and play concept, you can control everything. IoT hub, we did a demo also, you can develop your application to identify your end product in the sense, not the hub, your module in the house, how to control it, how to pass those parameters, scenarios. These mobile application gateways you need if you are going to control the environment. If you want to get the information, you don't want that part, then you can go with a separate concept called web services. You have one web application where your module can send the parameters to that web service. Then you can extract the relevant information for the customer wise and present it. So again, the why you want to go with the IoT hub or kind of IoT gateway scenario? If you are going to give opportunity for the customers to control your home. If your requirement stop with monitoring data part, you don't do expend money on kind of a IoT gateway because everything has a cost. In the right now cloud technology, we call pay as you go. So the customers, if you are productizing, modernizing this with a go-to-market strategy, you want to give something for the customers for cheapest price. That is the concept. If customer think about, okay, having a security guard is something to secure my environment. If I pay 20,000 something rupees something for the security guard per month, or am I going to invest 100,000, 150,000 kind of for the security environment? Those are the why questions. So think about that. So technology when it comes, like as I said, based on scenario. So end of the things is the same kind of a scenario. Will be demonstrated a video how we need to automate when powers go down, how the generator switch on, and how to monitor that generator concepts. Those will be there's one video in the same concept. Remotely get monitor the devices. For that, we introduce a gateway. So that is what always go with the why concept. And those are the things when you are developing a mobile application or cloud-based mobile application. If not, you can simply develop a mobile application connected with the Bluetooth. If you are coming to the place, why? You need to give the outside with access. You need to control it remotely. Then you are coming to the cloud platforms. Then you have to think about what are we going to do through a gateway or web services. I hope I pitched the answer.
Yes, that was a valuable explanation and very, very valuable. I don't know. I think most of us most of us, our colleagues, will have the answers to their problems. And if you have another problems with you, I invite you all to go to our Pigeonhole website and submit your question there. We will answer that. We will answer your questions after a few minutes. So then we will move on with the session. And the next question here goes to our Niroshan sir. So if we make, we have an idea about a home automation system. We have built it and we have developed the idea. We developed the home automation system, and then I've decided to make this as a commercial product. So first, as a single person, as an individual, if I'm going to make this as a commercial product, what are the certifications we need? And if I want the patent for this, what is the procedure to get the payment for my inventions?
Thank you, Ranjana.
Yes.
And good evening, everybody. So let's say now, as you mentioned, we developed a home automation system and it's now working very well. So when I come into my home, it welcomes me and it switch on the lights automatically. It waters my plants automatically. So my house is like a heaven now, right? So you think now, okay, so because this is working very well, so now maybe I can like sell this product, right? And I can gain some profit from this, right? So most of the time, so you would actually not be able to sell your project as it is. So most of the time we call this a POC. It's like a proof of concept, right? So if you try to sell this, so it would either be very costly, and also it would be sometimes actually not manufacturable in mass quantities you wish to sell, right? So if you like try to sell this, so your end goal would be like to sell this and gain some profit, right? So for that you need to like manufacture this in mass. So the most probably the project the home automation project we have currently implemented, that would not be something we can actually mass manufacture, right? So for that we need to actually go through different stages, and we need to like design our project with the goal of selling, creating a product and selling it, right? So for that we need to follow those different steps which we mentioned, like EVT, DVT, PVT, and go through that process to make to create this to create a sellable product, right? So let's say we did that, and also like now we have a product which we can mass manufacture, right? So still it's not like you can just go and put your product into a store and advertise it and say to the customers to come and buy your product, right? Still you cannot do that, right? So for that actually you need some certifications saying that your product is working as you have mentioned, right? So for instance, we don't want like when we switch on our home automation system, we don't want the neighbor's Wi-Fi to go down, right? And if, as Ranjan mentioned, if we like to make a product using power line communication, when we plug in our product, we don't want the entire block to have a power outage, right? So we need to make sure our product would be working as we expect when it's in a customer's premises, right? So for that, there are a lot of certification processes we need to follow. And actually, when we are going to sell this product, we would need to like actually provide these certifications to the customer, right? So for instance, so there are a lot of certification processes, and depending on where you are trying to sell your product, so the different regions will require different certifications, especially for products which involve this wireless technology, like these are IoT projects. For that, you actually need, so they would look at this certification very much, right? So for instance, so there are like certifications like FCC, right? So that's mainly for the US market, right? And then CE for the Europe market. So those kind of certificates you would actually need to provide if you are going to sell your product in those regions, right? And also not only that, so sometimes in some regions, you cannot actually sell any products which have lead in that, right? So we call them lead free, right? And ROHS. So there are a lot of like these certificates. So these kind of things, you actually need to have do this thinking about this during the design stage of your product itself. So as we had discussed, so like when you're designing the product, so if we like use lead to solder these products, then you would not be able to sell your product in a region where they require lead free. Right? So it's better to have this kind of knowledge in the like in the very beginning of the project, rather than like after manufacturing thousands or 10,000 products, and when you go to sell it, they say you cannot sell that. So that would be a huge loss for you, right? So because of that, it's actually required for you to have this knowledge before you like actually start the project itself. Right? And also regarding patents, right? So I think when we are like developing a product, right? So first of all, so as Thilina and all mentioned, we would be doing a research on that project to see what are available, right? So during that research, you would actually go and check these patents. So they are available online. So you can actually go and check and see if you are actually, if your product is actually using any of those patents, right? So if that is the case, then you would not be able to actually manufacture your product and sell it in that region. So when it comes to patents also, like there are certain patents which affects only certain regions, right? So yes, for instance, if we say like there is a patent for a home automation system which is filed in the US, and they say it affects only the US, right? So that patent you can actually like based on that idea, you can actually create a product and sell it in somewhere else, right? So you need to have a knowledge on those kind of things, right? So I hope I answered your question. So we can discuss other questions related to like product development later in the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for providing us with valuable information and ideas on creating a home automation system. Now we have come to the end of the first round. We are sure that our participants have gained useful knowledge and also new innovative ideas on home automation systems. A very good evening to all of you. I'm Chaminda Pereira, and I'll be one of your moderators for today's evening. Before moving on to the second round of today's session, one of our panelists would like to share his experience. One of our valued panelists in today's session, Mr. Shameera Prajapriya, will give you all an introduction on his experiences. Sir, I invite you to take over.
Okay, so can I know like what is the first one we are going to talk about? I will share the two things, right?
Yes, what about that? The first two videos.
It's about the forecourt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first things you guys going to look at into like the forecourt automation concept. Like I will like explain this from the why concept. Like why we wanted to implement that kind of a system. The forecourt automation state like fuel, like the petrol ships. So automation for that kind of environment. So why want to, the problem was why, what we had is like when a company has, this was done when I was working with Labs. Labs had like around 10, 15 kind of fuel stations around Thailand. So the major issue was, there were three issues they were having. First one is, have you noticed, when you're going to pump fuel to a first station, so there's an attendee in front of the pump, fuel pump. And you have seen, if there is like two nozzles, but only one attendee is working on the same pump, the other attendee, like in other who is in other pump, doesn't come to that location and support it. Because there's an issue, how you maintain the cash flows. Because the person who controls the pump calculate everything, all the cash flow, whatever the amount they pump and everything. So that has huge man cost for the fuel station, and for the pump is the performance issue, like because the customers are waiting in the queues, but other one can't go and support, because end of the day, if some two people try to pump from the same pump, there will be a different share on the cash flows. That's the one issue we had. The second issue we had is like for the management information, like management, what we are talking about, looking at entire 15 fuel station, what about the sales? So think about all the manual mechanism we are having, single pump, and then a single attendee. The supervisor collect all the cash, summarize it, send it to the head office. Head office, the accounts department summarize the entire 4 stations, number of 4 stations, cash flows, then do the management reporting. So we want to eliminate that time of hours take into that process. So the final output we want to do is once attendee pump the fuel and put back the nozzle into the fuel pump, the real time that entry, the sales is go to their ERP. So it means real time they have the visibility about sales of the or the first station. We have the last issue we have is the controlling the stock. It is not controlling stock in normal shop or something because there are huge tanks in the first station. Think about, as example, say 6,000 liters tank. So we have to pre-order fuel 4 days before. Saying that, forecasting that. So within next 4 days, the current storage, say 4,000 out of 6,000, 4,000 current storage, and we have to forecast within 4 days, it will reduce up to another 1,000. It means we have to order 5,000 liters worth of fuel before 4 days. Normally, for the manual human calculation, we don't get the exact output because it matters. Weather condition, the season, if it is a New Year season, if it is a Christmas season, the usage is high. The weather condition, if it is a rainy season, usage is high. So those are the concepts. So for that, we develop this concept. What will happen is we introduce a RFID card for the first attendees, where that will be their cash flow. They can punch it. They can start fueling from any pump. Then they will have, okay, this person has pumped this much of fuel from this pump, and this is the cash flow. Second solution is when they keep the nozzle back, there's a touch display where they can update how they collect the cash. It is a cash or card payment, anything. Easy cash, anything they can update. Only that we can touch. So once they update that, all get parked on the ERP system. So I thought you like answering the previous question. You have to think about how you can ease customers' life. So in here, think about each cash payment. This attendee has to come and touch that screen. What you have done is, if they don't update the payment before they do the next fuel, it takes as automatically cash payment. So basically, what will happen is attendee goes to the touch display and update the payment. If it is a card or easy cash or something different, not most of the sales happen through cash. Like 70% of work is reduced by thinking on that time. So for the listeners or audience, you have to think about when you're automating a scenario, it was not about always the devices or things. It matters with that top to bottom, like as still explained. What I'm going to provide as a solution, there are simple things you can reduce the work. That is a scenario. And for the last thing, we implemented a kind of a AI mechanism by analyzing 3 years data, like the weather conditions, seasons, and everything. It will forecast within the usage of the fuel for the next 4 days, and it will generate the purchase order automatically for station-wise to the head office. So those are the things we did in this implementation. There are, I think, 2 videos. One is about that storage tanks monitoring systems. Another one is how you can, in this solution, if someone wanted to see, so you have seen the meter read, right? Milliliter rotating part. So that part we can monitor through the browser remotely. It's really happening. Which pump is switched on, who have used it, the cash flows, everything. So I think we can go to the videos now.
Thank you, sir, for that informative explanation. Now we have a video which would explain the previous explained innovation. I think we can go to that.
I forgot one thing to mention, like in this automation, in the first time we did the self-pumping solution. Like I forgot to share the video present also. It might be if you see on the internet, you can watch like introducing a QR code and the mobile application. The same concept, like controlling the device at the real time. So the customer has to come to the pump and just they scan the pump QR code through the mobile app. Then they can say, okay, 2,000 worth of rupees worth of fuel I need. Once they put the nozzle into the vehicle, they start. Pump will dispense only the fuel is a liter, so rupees, whatever they requested, that much of amount to the vehicle. And it will automatically charge from their mobile. So when we implemented this thing, because when we are presenting this international competitions, so they were asking like, like mobile applications can't use in the inside the fuel station due to the it can be caused to the fire. But there are global researchers that says it's confirmed that mobile is not the one which caused the fire. Is the static in your body is reason is caused the fire. Like it's advised, like when you're getting down from the vehicle, at least for 1-2 seconds, touch the vehicle body before you get down from the vehicle when you're inside the fuel station. Because through the AC, it's created static in your body, and that is the thing which caused the fire. So that's about that.
Thank you, sir. Now we have another innovation which will be also presented by our panelist, Mr. Shameera Prajapriya.
So that thing is something. Okay, let's watch this and discuss. So this device and the solution which we use is same kind of a same concept. Concept is same, like when it comes to home automation and the device concept. So Law International is the one who has the Yama generator source agent in Sri Lanka. So they wanted to provide a customer service side, proactive service. So think about generator. The issue is the customers who are having a generator, they are keen about their generator when there's a power failure. That time only they go and check, okay, do you have the fuel, the generator is working or something. So these running machines, this concept is can be applicable for any running machines, running devices. So these devices get maintained based on the running hours. So that was the concern, the issue majorly addressed. So how we are going to track down the exact running? It can be AC, it can be a vehicle, everything. We don't know exact running hours of the device. So this concept we did for this one to get the alert from. If there is any analog signal, it can be a LED indicator or any analog signal available on the device, we convert it to digital and send it to the cloud. So this we did allow this platform to control the device. The first phase we did is monitoring. Then we don't want to go with the gateway. We just use some web services and this kind of technology. The mobile application communicates with the web application. So the solutions we did provide is like that. If the NDI's power goes down, what we do is we set like, okay, the generator gets started, it will notify the customer and the maintenance department, saying that this generation, the maintenance department, there's one screen, they can monitor all the generators in our island. When there's running, when there's issue, filter level issue, oil level issue, everything they get alert on that dashboard. That was the screen, the green color one, the 2% was looking at. So the benefit of that is when the systems triage alert, say there's issue in this, the service department called the customer saying, we noticed that there's a maintenance requirement, we noticed this kind of scenario, we are coming on the day. So the system automatically schedule the services and what are the services they want to provide for that generator. So then the service department know in the mobile application which location is this generator is there, because we have this GPS module inside the device. It doesn't matter, they move to device to the separate places. When it comes to the industry, a lot of construction industry, they are using this kind of heavy generators. It doesn't matter. The service department knows where is the location, everything. So those are the things we address. Always come with this like, I appreciate that you start with the good point, this why. Always, it applies not for IoT. In your life, in your any other projects, this why is a key. So then only you can go with the good kind of innovations. Those are two things, some things we did in years back.
So thank you so much, Shameera. I think that was really valuable for us because since it was a practical project, by sharing, I really thank you for sharing these things with us. So before moving to the second round, I want to share with another exciting video with you all guys. Our technical team is, I think our technical team is ready to share the share our Ideathon video. We have organized a competition as an Ideathon, InnovMind Ideathon. Anyone can participate for our Ideathon. Only you have to do is select one of fields from education, agriculture, transportation, and healthcare. And from one of these fields, you have to find you have to identify a problem you see in there. After that, give a better solution using IoT. I think our technical team is ready to share our Ideathon video. If you guys are ready, we can share it. Okay, thank you so much. So anyone can participate. Anyone who is under 25 years old can participate for the ideathon. All you have to do is give us an innovative idea, giving a better solution for a problem you have identified from those fields. So let's move on to the second round of today's panel discussion. So I think we've got lots of questions with our Pigeonhole platform. First one is about a hardware related to hardware process. I would like to give this question for Ranjan sir, but if there are anyone else to answer for this question, step forward and answer this. So someone is asking that I would like to know what kind of protocol and connection type can be used to run a camera that can capture still images of small insects.
All right. Right. It's not all about the protocols and something like that. So it's all about the specification of the camera. So how we can zoom it and what is the resolution and things like that. So then only you can capture the small insect, right? So apart from that, you can use normal cameras and you can add some add-ons. So you can take something like this, right? So you can then add some kind of add-on to this. So then you can zoom more clear images of the insects, right? So likewise, you can do both hardware implementation. So it's not all about the protocol actually. Normally in the cameras, we can use CSI, SPI, USB protocols. But to capture the small insect, it's all about the camera resolution and things like that. Also, you can save still image in SD card as well. So if you think about this kind of a ESP32 real camera. So others, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, if I'd like to add something to that.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes when come to innovations, new people think that it's always about electronic. You can buy some electronic gadget and it will work. Now, it doesn't work at every scenario, right? In this particular scenario, cameras work. They have better resolutions, but when it comes to micro world, you have to, you have to put some effort on optics assets. As the Ranjan mentioned that when you have to go for modules, some sort of you have to focus on optical science. Optics is there because we can't forget the physics. You can't work only on the electronics. So we have to make a nice optics system for get that micro world. So basically, pretty much most cameras will do the thing, but we have to be really good at put some time and get the optics done. So that way you can make something real. So it's when you are into innovations, it's not always about electronics. Just focus on the real question and then go for the optics and then whatever the things you have. When you're doing proper research, you get to know these things, right? So when you're doing testings also, again, you can see that, okay, this camera is good. I bought this, but it's not good for moving pictures, maybe for this kind of micro things. So always, it's not only about electronics. I have to think about the scenario and work on the relevant other aspects as well.
I will add something to both Ranjan and Ushan's answer. As clearly said, everything is not with the devices you have to go with. But in this question, since it's mentioned small insects, so you have to go with image analysis. So the device can only do it can give a proper quality image to sense. If you think about OCR science, there are a set of cameras which extract the exact text and give you the output. But when you come to these kinds of case scenario, I don't think to detect insects. There are cameras manufactured for that purpose. But you can go with this, as Ushan and Ranjan said, the proper resolution and optics, everything scenarios. Then you have to go with the proper image analysis model, where you have set of images in your cloud or something, anything. Then you pass this image, analyze it. Okay, is this what kind of insect or this kind of? So all come with the next part is with your application engineering, AI part, AI model. Thank you.
So, Chaminda, let's move on with the next question.
Thank you so much, sirs, for that informative explanation. Moving on to the next question, and this is also connected with the previous question. Are there any open source machine learning models for insect identification? Any sources that can be pointed towards to get started as a beginner?
So I will get a start.
Yeah, go on, Shameera.
Okay, so Thilina, you can, if you want, like, because so I was going to say like I'm not pretty sure about getting like, and I would like to explain this for the audience also. So all these come with the research, like it is available on the good open source scenario something. Because as professionals, everybody in here and everyone has the conceptual ideas like how to apply them and things. So what I believe is, if you ask the questions, if you get like, are there any machine learning models to detect these kind of scenarios? I'm not sure about that. I'm not capable of answering that. But what you can do is, there are a lot of open source and predefined models. Only thing is the algorithm is the model, not about the real requirement. So how to detect it and analyze it and everything. But how you train the model is giving you the output. That's something you should focus about. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah, exactly. Put it correct ways. Finding a machine learning model for your exact use case is like finding a needle in the haystack. I would say don't even go on that path. It's the wrong path to start the project itself. That's not the way that we should start working on the project. So whenever you have a machine learning or artificial intelligence related project, in typical other projects, you will first find what are the existing things that are being done, but never ever search for insect detecting machine learning model. You search it in Google, you will not get it. The obvious reason is that's a very specific use case. But if you look at the little fundamental hidden inside that use case, you have a fundamental technology, which is the classification model. If you take machine learning, machine learning has three types of main things that it can do. It can do classification. Classification is when you have some unknown data, can you classify this being into different classes? That's what OCR does. OCR, if it is English language, you get a handwritten character, and you can classify whether that belongs to letter A, letter B, letter C, or whatever the thing. So there are multiple classes. So what we are talking here is multi-class classification. Now, if you look at multi-class classification models, are there freely available multi-class classification models? Yes, there are multi-class classification models available in the internet. Then what do you need to do? Now, you don't need to start from scratch everything. If you know a little bit of machine learning, you can use available multi-class classification model. Then the efficiency is the next problem. How much efficient is your model? How much efficient do you want? Do you want your model to perform 99% accuracy? Like if you have a picture of an insect, do you want to predict that insect to be in a perfect particular class with 99% accuracy? Or do you think 80% accuracy is enough? Now those two numbers are going to define your next life. If you think that 80% accuracy is good enough, probably you can find enough information to complete the project in 1 week. But if someone says, no, 80% is not enough, but you need 96%, well, probably you are looking for about 2 to 3 years of application development. And somebody says, all right, no, 95% is not enough. I need 99.999 accuracy, 5 nines of accuracy. Probably that's going to consume your entire life. And in my personal understanding or personal experience, increasing the accuracy of a machine learning model from one point to the next point, something like increasing it from 95% to 96%, would sometimes mean about 3 years. So to give an understanding to you, don't even try to search Google for use cases. Even if there are things coming on, even if you find a model, that will not solve your problem, because machine learning or artificial intelligence project's main point that you need to focus is accuracy. It doesn't matter you have a model. What matters is how much accurately can it perform. Is it 80% or is it 95%? And the next question is it enough for your customer? If it is just for winning a competition, finding a model from somewhere, putting it to the competition, winning it, well, you will win it, but you will not get it anything. You will not learn anything. But if you can find a classification model, train it with enough data. Now, the proper question you should have asked is, how do you find proper data sets to improve a model's accuracy? Well, that's a good question to ask. Now, there are a lot of sites, a lot of places where people put open and freely available data sets to improve the accuracy of models. Even we in our professional life, even we use such kind of freely available data sets. That's the truth. People use open and freely available data sets. Even now we are using some of the freely available data sets to train some of our facial biometric related machine learning models. But here's the deal. Even with those data, our accuracies are pretty around the corner of 95%. Now we have a problem of increasing the accuracy from 95 to 96. And we have been trying to do this for a very long time with very dedicated machine learning engineers who are pretty much knowledgeable in the area, and it's not that easy. So the correct question to ask, my friend, is how do you improve the accuracy of the model, not finding the model. Finding the model, I will say again, summarizing, don't even try to find the model. You will not find it. Even if you find it, that might not solve your problem. I think I gave a quick answer.
Yes, so that was very you explained very well that for that question. And also there's another question. I like to give this question to Mr. Thilina sir, and as well as the Niroshan sir. How to conduct proper research to find the most suitable technology and the commercial viability of the project.
Right. I see two things before probably Niroshan can. Niroshan, would you like to take it? Why?
You can start, Thilina.
Right. Good. So I see two things there. The question has two parts. Researching part is different and commercial viability is different thing. I'll first start with research. I'll not take a lot of time. So research means first you need to see if this is done by other people, because there's a higher chance, just like my other friend said, just because we have an understanding, we have a problem, it doesn't mean that I am the first one and the only one to get this problem in my head. There's a higher chance that there are people who has already had this problem and they have tried other things, other methods of doing things. So what I typically instruct my students is, well, the moment you get a project, idea or a problem into your head, don't assume that you are the first person to get that idea. It's not likely to be you are the Isaac Newton, and probably there's a higher chance this time that the idea that you had has been already there and tried by other people. That's what research means. You first find if this idea is already tried and tested by other people, and if there are methods already tried and tested. If that's the case, you have to find where the existing things failed. This is what we typically expect at a undergraduate level. We'll take a typical example. Let's say you want to design a wireless mouse. You are not the first person to think of a wireless mouse. Probably other people in the world has already thought about it. So you search. Where do you search? You have enough and different places to search. You have journals, you have research articles, you have Google, you have many places to search what other people have thought about this. So you will search on wireless mouse and you get a lot of things. You get patents, you get papers. So it's a pretty known thing. But let's think about something pretty unknown. Let's say you want to build a laser machine to kill mosquito killing machine. There's a laser which will automatically find mosquitoes and send a laser pulse which will kill mosquitoes. Well, is that a good idea? We don't know. Have other people tried it? That's what you mean by research. Probably other people may not have done exact laser mosquito killing machine, but maybe there are papers or there are existing knowledge saying guiding laser beams. Maybe people have not tried that to kill mosquitoes, but maybe people have tried guiding laser beams to do certain things like laser 3D engraving, for example. So that's research. Research means trying if your problem domain is already tried and tested. Now here's the problem. Probably the 3D engraving laser is not fine enough for your use case. So probably your question is, how do you fine tune that? So my advice is this: whenever you get a project idea, at least find 5 existing things that are in the problem domain. At least 5 existing things in the problem domain. Now, if you can't find 5 things, the reason why 5 is, if you can't find 5 things, there are 2 things. Either the project is not tried by the human beings in the world, or your project research method is wrong. You have not tried and researched it very well. Either there is nothing like that in the world, or your research method is wrong. Typically, it's the second thing. Typically, there are things already done. Typically, our method of searching is wrong. So it's just like the earlier situation. You don't find insect finding use cases using machine language, but there are classification models. So that's the research part. At least find 5 things which have already solved the problem. Find problems, find use cases, find features of these 5 things. Sorry. This model has this model has this feature, this model has this feature, but these 3 models lack these things. Probably it doesn't have fine-tuned laser changing mechanism. Probably it doesn't have a servo guidance. Probably it doesn't have a feedback mechanism. So you build a system providing a solution to the existing things. That's how you increase knowledge. That's how you add knowledge. You're not trying to create the first and foremost knowledge in the world. You're not supposed to do that, at least in this level. Instead of trying to do the first inventions, probably you can start with innovations and try how things are going on. That's on research. Commercial viability, Niroshan will add. But just to add on just one line on commercial viability, remember this very well. A business, a commercial viability is all about solving a real business problem. There should be a problem and you should be answering a problem. Simple as that. If you have a problem identified and if you can solve a problem, there you go. You have the commercial viability because you are solving someone's problem. Simple as that. Niroshan, adding anything?
Yes, Thilina. Just to add a small thing to that. So I can say, like, for research, so when you're doing the research, it's somewhat like trying to somehow solve the problem. Right, so you can do like you can Google and find different papers, read them, and afterwards you can somehow try to solve the problem. But when it comes to commercialization, so just one thing to add on what Thilina said. So in commercialization, we always need to think about the cost. The cost is the main factor. So we can develop mosquito killing laser, but if that cost, if it cost about $1,000, then no one would buy that. Right. So when we are doing like when you're like thinking about commercialization, we always need to think about the final cost. Right. And also another thing. For instance, like when you are doing this IoT project, right? So sometimes you may be like finding IoT modules which are working in different frequencies, right? So 433, 344 megahertz, like that, different frequencies, right? So using those modules, you would be able to make your product. Right, but when you're going to sell that product, sometimes you would identify like, okay, when I'm going to sell this in US, I can't use this frequency in US. Right? If I want to use this, I will have to like spend some I will have to like pay the government. Right? So like that, there are some costs and all which we need to like take into account when you are doing those research. Right? So in the research phase, you can like get that just order that module and use it, right? But sometimes when you like create the final product and go to sell it, then when you like when I said that certifications and all, when you're going to obtain that certification and all, they would say no, you cannot use this frequency in this region, right? So because of that, you will have to like first of all, like when you're doing the research part itself, you will have to be aware like when commercializing this product also, there can be certain things like this, right? And also like another point another like from our experience. So when we are developing a certain product, right? So during our research phase, like when we are doing the EVT and DVT stages, where we created an enclosure, right? So in that enclosure, we had shown the customer a mock-up of the enclosure, and the enclosure had actually two colors. There was a black color box kind of thing, and there was a silver ring going around that enclosure. Right? So during like initial stages, that silver ring was actually painted. Right? And when we went to the commercialization, like when we are going to produce this in mass manufacturing, we identified like creating about 1,000 units and like painting the silver string. That is not practical, right? And it was not a viable cost wisely, right? So we needed to like go into a process where we had to do dual injection, right? So that process was very costly. So those kind of things you need to like think about them. So you would not be able to like think about all of this when you start the project itself, right? But having an idea of these kind of like different wireless technologies and different manufacturing technologies, how they are done, having this idea during the research stage itself would be very beneficial when you're going during the when you're going to actually sell your product.
Yeah, I would like to add one more thing. First thing, there's a bad news is someone has thought to make a laser using, the mosquito killing machine. It's already available, guys. I mean, someone had make a prototype with the Xbox laser, Xbox, the gameplay. It's already available and it's working, but I don't know with the commercialization thing. So pretty much whatever the thing you get with you is already available, right? Most of the time, I mean, something similar, at least something similar is there. So you can definitely, if you put some time on your research, you can find a lot of information about the technology. The second thing about the commercialization, sometimes we think that we want to sell the device. No, that's not the matter. When come to commercialization, you don't need to sell device always. Be creative. When come to commercialize, you just need to think about ways to earn money. Okay, you can't give your device as a rental if it's cost. If in a big way, think about the value what your customers getting. Because these things are two different things. When come to technology, okay, you can make it and you can work it that. But when commercialization, you have to think a lot about the what amount of money your customers having in their pocket. So you have to be really creative on that aspect. When it comes to hardware, actually you don't need to sell everything as a hardware. Just try to cover up the initial cost and go for a subscription as well. Now Netflix and kind of people, they're giving a device for your home, and not exactly Netflix, but think about a lot of cable TV. They give the hardware fee, but they charge for you every month. So think about those creative ways as well when it comes to commercialization. And the last thing about what Niroshan mentioned about the real manufacturing. When it comes to engineering, it's not about prototyping. There's a separate aspect called design for manufacturing. The prototype and your design is something different. When it comes to manufacturing, you have to go through a lot of things. That's the real part when it comes to commercialization of the hardware. I mean, you have to think about each and every part. Sometimes to reduce a lot of when it comes to manufacturing of hardware, we are not talking about 1 unit, 2 unit kind of thing. We are thinking about 100,000, 10,000, perhaps millions. So each and every tiny resistor perhaps cost you, when come to big bucks when it comes to mass manufacturing. So DFM, design for manufacturing, is another important aspect when it comes to commercialization. If you're thinking to be an entrepreneur, and if you're thinking to be, sell your product somewhere in future, speak about those aspects as well. You have to cover up those things. Manufacturing process is really tedious one. It will cost you, real huge amount if you're not going to put your focus on that one. So there are a lot of things you have to cover up when it comes to designing and when it comes to commercialization.
Thank you so much, sir, for that lengthy explanation. Moving on to the next question, and I think this question will be related to Shameera, sir. But as previously mentioned, as we have a highly experienced panel with us today, we request you all to share your insight based on the question if it pertains to a field of your knowledge. So the question is, I want to make an online-based dashboard to display information that I have collected from the device. Can you guide me to do this task?
Okay. So when you are saying this, I'm not sure about what are the data you are going to present, but I will take as a common way. So when you want to present data in your dashboard, the first question is like how you are going to build your dashboard in the web. Are you going to use default JavaScript by source concept, or do you want to go with the other supportive BI technologies? So I will say like this. Think about most of the people would like to have hanky-panky dashboards like it will show years, time, statics, it's moving, everything. So as the previous question also, we were talk about when you're going to real world commercial or product or something, we need to think about the cost factor. And you have to in here also, when you are developing, it can be your project, university project or something. So don't think about it as a, okay, I just want to present this and go away. No, you just try to address your solution with a proper website. Now, the first thing is you have to decide what are the things you are going to present and how you are going to present and what will be the cost for your presentation. So now think about all the data you collected from your device. It can be you come into the web service and now you have been stored in the database. Now, I assume that you have come to that point. Then what you can do is you can build a simple dashboard with charts using the Ajax technology, Ajax or some Angular kind of a technology, where you can pull data from the select data from the database and present. But now by looking at it, okay, it's a simple code kind of thing. No, the code can be simple, but you have to think about these factors. How much of load you are going to give the database? It means think about each 5 seconds, we are going to get some data from read from the databases for one user. Think about your product, your web dashboard is going to use by 10 users at a given time. Then how many calls is going for the database? Then there will be performance impact. To maintain that performance impact, you have to give the high resource to the database. Resources like the GPU, memory, everything. So it has a cost. So I would suggest this. First, when you are designing a dashboard, you have to think about what are the critical parameters, measurements I am going to present in the dashboard. So we call what you collect from the data device is a telemetry. The telemetry might have a lot of things. Think about you are talking about since you have not mentioned the project or something. So we talk about the weather station. Your telemetry can have wind speed, humidity, temperature, kind of many things. Then, when you are thinking about your dashboard, what exactly user want to know? User is interested on like at a given time, okay, like right now, what is the wind speed? He is looking at the dashboard every time? No. So then we are going to, like, since I'm saying, when you are building a dashboard with the technologies, there's a cost. So eliminate the cost. What you have to think is, you have to think when your customer need to be notified. So wind speed is going to be more than 60 knots. Temperature is going to be more than 70. So it's something. Then like the humidity goes down or something. You have to have set of parameters in your device. Why you say in your device in the sense, why having those parameters in your device, you can reduce the cost you spend on transferring that data set to the cloud also. The data also costs, right? Bandwidth. Those are the things you have to think. So the dashboard, I would say the technologies, you can go with the purely when you're doing a web application, language doesn't matter, PHP or C# or .NET Core, anything. What you have to do is, you have to use kind of a front-end framework. It can be Angular, Ajax queries or jQuery. I just call anything. Just come with the database. You can use JS charts to present. If you are really thinking about going with handy, with easy work of coding, if you are not a big fan of doing web application development, you can go with kind of analytics technologies. There are Tableau, Power BI kind of dashboard concept. What you can do is, if you are, I'm just take this case as a Microsoft Azure concept. Like if you have a gateway, you can get these parameters from HTML analytics. You can then decide where you want to pass this data into, if your web application or Power BI or through table storage or SQL. So with the Power BI, what we can do is you can easily, you can link with your database table, you can just easily do the charts. If you really wanted to just get the real time notification, like if you haven't seen that video with the fuel station automation, the millimeter wise meter rotating, but that part we have done from the single R technology. It means no cost. If you have a peer-to-peer connection with your device and the web, it will directly send the data into the web front end. So those are the concepts you can have. But when it comes to the web cloud technologies, the most concept is pay as you go. What you use, you pay. So when you're going to the product, you have to think about, are you really addressing the customer's need? If not, customer pays for something what customer didn't request. So think about all the angle, but the dashboard you can develop from those technologies.
Okay, that was a really valuable explanation, and thank you for that lengthy explanation for that question. So let's move on with the next question. So this question is for Ushan. So I think it was a really huge question about someone is asking about Industry 4.0. Let's give them a basic idea about that.
Okay, so the idea about the Industry 4.0 is making the entire business environment much smarter, so it makes more profits for you. So, okay, so initially, and I think Shameera showed a real good example about Industrial 4, about that gas fueling thing. It's like making entire the entire business process into something much efficient. So in this the, if I'm correct, that fuel example, the accounting department or the people who are handling about the financial doesn't have to wait much long time to get to know how the sales and how their products are moving, because they add a simple method to get the fuel consumption and real time, and it upload it into the whatever system. So Industrial 4 is in simple terms, this is it. This is making your entire business environment into something really smart. So you don't waste your resources. That's really important, right? Resources means money. At the end, every resource you are going to waste will cost you. So when we are not doing businesses for as a fun. So the main purpose of all business thing is about making profits. So it's about getting profit with an optimizing your profit with the technology, with help of technology, using sensors and the relevant hardware. Maybe it comes with software protocol and everything. So Industrial 4 is sort of it's really a smart thing. In future, perhaps within the 15 years, I guess even in Sri Lanka, most of the industries, the classical business, even for farming is again a business now. Even for farming, Industrial 4 will be do a huge impact. It will help us to generate much yield from less cost. So this is about it. Industrial 4 is about making your environment much smarter to make more profits for your business. So that's about the thing. And when it comes to technology, again, it's different from your application to application. So if you get the basic idea, I think that's the thing you need to take here. Make your environment much sensitive and much aware about your entire process, so you can optimize it much whatever the way you want to get more profits.
Ranjan, can I add something to Ushan's answer? Because when Ushan explained that,
sure, you can.
I really got something to my mind, which like this, when I'm presenting those solutions to international people, they ask this question, like what example Ushan explained. So the question was like, how do you guarantee like the company get profits on these solutions? So my answer was very simple. The profit doesn't mean that how much money you get into the business. It's always on the other side. How much money you save for the business. It's also a profit. The recurrent cost is going to be less. And that's actually the industry 4.0 Ushan explained. So I just wanted to share that question and the answer. Always think about it. Doesn't matter your product is gain profit for the company. If your product is simplifies the solution, expedite the information processing path, less work for the humans, then it means less cost for the company. Then it means it's also profit.
Yeah, it's not about making more money. It's all again about saving your costs. Both aspects are there. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I think our participants gained a good idea about Industry 4.0. Moving on to the next question. Are there any ways to identify best possible cultivation lands and how to use big data to improve cultivation?
I would say it's again something like that insect finding example. This is a exact typical use case, but the truth is these are the things typically we get asked. So it's okay to ask this question. These are the questions typically I get, but this is a good point to ask this question. But we have to understand these are use cases. Now, use cases, if you think of doing a use case, that's a problem that you have. It's like again the insect finding question. Now, world has developed a fundamental knowledge called classification. Well, you can use the classification technology to do anything. You can classify people, you can classify letters, you can classify insects, or you can classify something else. World has created a technology called transferring video through internet. You can use Zoom, you can use Skype, you can use WhatsApp, you can use whatever the thing. But there's a technology called sending video traffic over internet. Now there is a method in data science where you can analyze large set of information and try to find meaningful information out there. Are there technology available for that? Yes, there are technology available for that. Now it's just like the same case. The technology and the fundamental is there. It's up to you to apply that and create anything that you like. You can, so the fundamentals is what? Fundamental technologies, you have methods to analyze large set of data and gather meaningful information from that. Now you can apply that to Sri Lankan stock market and gather insightful information. You can apply that for Sri Lankan electric vehicle usage and gather information. You can apply that for Sri Lankan education system and find what will happen in the future. You can apply that for cultivation lands and find what's the best cultivation land. You can do whatever the use case that you like. So my suggestion is, now here's a fundamental thing that I generally say: do not focus on trends. These days we understand there are a lot of trends going on. Agriculture, people are talking about agriculture, people are talking about IoT. These are trendy words. If you try to follow up trendy words, this is the problem. The problem is trendy words are like, tides in the ocean. They will come and they will go. Everybody's talking about Zoom these days, but this is the only platform. And if you say, no, I'm going to use Zoom, only Zoom for the entire life, you will probably survive only just one more year. And after 1 more year, Zoom will be surpassed by something else. The use cases are not that important. Instead, please make sure that you become brilliant in fundamentals. So the answer to your question, is there a method to find the best cultivation land using data science? Yes. It's just like asking, is there a possibility to use Zoom for video conferencing? The answer is always yes. But how to do that? Not that simple. You have to go to the fundamentals, find and learn how video data are transmitted over internet. And same here, you have to go to the fundamentals, find how you can analyze set of large data and get some output, meaningful output from that. I know it doesn't directly answer your question, but this kind of questions are not directly answerable because these are use cases. So my suggestion is, instead of focusing on those kind of use cases, try to dig deeper, go to low. Remember the top-down approach, go to the lowest point and find the fundamental technology behind that. Even if you come to interviews, if you know the fundamental and if you don't know how to do something exactly using that, but if you're brilliant in fundamentals, that's good enough. Because we can teach you how to write Java, But if you don't know object-oriented programming, that's a big problem. Teaching Java is not a problem, but teaching object-oriented programming is difficult. So my simple answer is know the basics. Use cases can be different.
Yeah, let's put it into very common terms. Okay, now dinner time is coming ahead and you're going to be hungry. So next time, don't query for what I'm going to eat for my dinner. Just think of Google for, search for how to find, food for my dinner, right? Food is the fundamental. So think about the food, not about your specific needs. So basically you can find a lot of places for food. So just a general term, okay? When in most scenarios, you have specific needs, but think about the, the general concept behind that. So you can get the answer. Next time you're going to ask some sort of questions, think twice, is that my need? Okay, so based on why I'm getting this need, so think likewise. Then you can get the real query what you need to at least Google for. So that will help you guys.
I also would like to add something. I will take another 2-3 minutes for this, because for this question is really something we want to explain for our audience. I'm going to address this question as a CEO who's looking for skillful people. As a developer, how I gain this knowledge. And as an IoT person, how I learn this stuff. So looking at those 3 angles, I'm saying for you guys, if you've been with my session as the last time, before I start my session, I still said a word. Don't always think about what technology can do. Always think about what you can do with the technology. That is the matter. Right now, all the people who always think about, okay, I wanted to do this. Is there a specific technology to cater that problem? No, there are no that kind of a answer in the world. Always there are a lot of possibilities. So you have to adopt for those possibilities. You have to invent something using existing. That is why we always do innovations. So the answer is like the cultivated land. Think about the parameters you need. First, go to the problem. How you identify a proper land for the cultivation? What are the parameters? Soil condition, everything, those things. Then you have to think about the next problem. Drill down to your problem. That's the exact thing till he started his point. So you have to identify your problem and drill down to your points. Then look for the solutions. Solution is you have to innovate the solution and think about the existing things. Do a research to what are the people has used for this kind of concept, not exactly a real cost, the concept. So as exactly explained, that object-oriented and Java. Always get into your mind about the concept, not about the syntax. If you really wanted to learn about a language something, Google, you can get multiple codes. But really, if you don't know where, when, and how to apply for each, that is the problem. You have to have a proper understanding about the concept. Because then you can always go and see if you can't remember the syntax for the for each, you just Google it. For each in Java, for each in C#. That is really in this case. When you are doing a solution, get into your concept. Drill down, list it, task. Then go into one by one, say, okay, what are the parameters for the identify a good land for the cultivation? Then you will find, okay, these are the parameters. Then you should go like, okay, how can I measure those things? What are the devices available? Then how can I process this? How am I going to give the answer for the people? That is how you should think. Not about saying how to the model for the insect, model for the cultivation land. Then you are not innovating anything. You are just trying to copy paste, get a code from the Google and use it. Yeah, I done it. No, don't be like that, because there are a lot of things in Sri Lanka. Forget about international. There are a lot of things in Sri Lanka where you can solve. There are a lot of social problems. We need that mindset for the industry. Not the people who go for the Google and copy the code and paste it. Then you won't have a good life in those. Always think about what you can do with the technology. Because in future also there might be a lot of technology coming. Now you know the blockchain and everything is accepted in Sri Lanka. There's another technology. What you are going to do with that technology? That's the fact. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that lengthy explanation about about that for that question. And there's another question. I will give this question for all our panels. Sir, there are any methods to make an app for IoT projects with less effort? And what should be concerned about when selecting such a developing software?
Yeah, if it's about MVP, right, just go with the whatever the available thing. You have Blink, you have, even a lot of platforms available. So if about MVP, just go with the whatever the available thing, right? So when come to initial prototype, we are not thinking about commercializing it and everything. So you can go, even when come to commercialization, even you can go for, license some other person's application, everything. If that's the case, think about something like that. Go with whatever the basically available platform, so you can get with that one. So you don't need to learn Java for 10 years, for 1 year or something, and make a Java application, mobile application or something to do your thing. Just go with whatever the available thing and get start working. Then go to optimization and think about the commercialization and everything.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to the next question. I think this question will also be related to Ushan, sir. But we, as previously mentioned, as we have a highly experienced panel with us, you can all share your insights based on the question. So the question is, are there any methods to make an app for IoT projects with less effort? And what should be concerned about when selecting such a developing software?
Yeah, I think... I think it also the previous one. I mean, if whatever the available IoT things are there, go with those things. I mean, if you're a beginner, there are a lot of things like Blink is there. I mean, there are a lot. MIT even has a lot of things to code and everything. So go with something like that for your IoT project. So then you can come up with something. Again, think about the next phase after that.
I think IEEE is also a really good platform to connect a lot of sensors. But nowadays it's become some kind of commercial thing. But we can do some free project as well up to some extent. IEEE.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to the next question. How can we find an international buyers for our product?
Yeah, okay, that's a tricky question, right? Okay, when it comes to hardware business, it's really challenging. It's not like software, okay? So every unit you're going to make, you have to spend a lot of money. It's not about money, and you have to think about delivery, shipping, and everything. So buying and selling hardware stuff is really challenging. So when it comes to finding your interesting people for your particular product, think about the interest group in certain areas. For example, I'll tell you a really excellent example that I have learned very recently. If you heard about Magic Beat in Sri Lanka, they did really awesome, right? They did a Kickstart campaign, right? Kickstart is an open source platform which for international. They made the entire product in Sri Lanka, but they put that product in global platforms like Kickstart kind of thing. So via that, they got attention from international markets. So there are platforms for you to sell your product in such for your beginning crowd. So think about those things. We have, there are a lot of crowdsourced platform, and I think there was a question again in how to find your funding as well, right? So when it comes to Kickstarting kind of thing, you get the buyer and you also get the sales as well. So you can get fund, you start your manufacturing. So always think about your client customer group. You say if you're in education, think about the education groups, and there are a lot of Facebook pages as well. So you put your product post on those pages. There will be interested people, and they will ask you, they will do inquiry for your product, and you can start selling. So when you think about the international market, when it comes to hardware, usually think bigger, but act small. Yeah, think about the big picture, but when it comes to sales, start with a crowd platform kind of thing, so you can start your business with the international market really a clever way with less cost. So that's something really important you need to know.
Just to add to that, so another way you can find international customers is like there are these trade fairs and exhibitions. So some of these trade fairs are actually organized by different governments itself, right? So try to like find on those and try to participate in those. And by participating in those, you would be able to like meet new people and make new customers. And one special thing you need to keep in mind when we are like targeting the international market, and especially for hardware devices, is many of the countries actually require one of your agents to be actually in that country. So different governments and all, they have different laws. So you'll have to be aware regarding those also.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on with the next question. We have already 2 more questions to ask. So this question goes to Ranjan sir. And it's kind of a personal question, I think. I am start make a project, but I have problems like he's asking that he have a problem about to get a value in pulse sensor in ESP32, but in value is not accurate. Here's what we need to do when things like this come up. I think it's just like
Let's put that question is the most generic format. So most of people ask sometimes when they are doing project, my code is not working, something like that, right? So my opinion is first go to the data sheet, right? So don't copy from anyone. You can refer those things, but always act as a engineer, because when engineers are giving a solution for any problems, they should give and do analytical things and lot of it should be perfect solution then, right? So not like a trial and error thing. So then my recommendation is go to the fundamentals and learn about those things, because there can be hardware issues, software issues, a lot of things, right? And when you go to the data sheet, it will show all the directions how to do that. Sometimes the registers are not enough to fill the values, something like that, right? So my recommendation is go to the fundamentals in datasheet, and you can find the better way to do that, right? So others, you want to add this?
Yeah, especially when come to ESP32, actually, I'm using ESP32 a lot. So ESP32 ADC doesn't give you accurate result unless you calibrate it. So go to the ESP IDF, that's a it's my official release for the software for ESP programming. So there's under the ADC category, you can find out the calibration table, and there's a calibration function. There are 2 functions we have to call because the raw ADC doesn't give you a accurate result, because manufacturing person doesn't give you accurate result. So you have to do small calibration. The instructions are on the ESP IDF documentation. You can follow it and do it, right? It's not a huge thing, but it's really important what Ranjan said. Read the data sheet, read the manuals. Otherwise, searching for Googles if you want to be engineer doesn't work, right? So you have to familiar with the resources, or the key resources made by the manufacturer. That's vital, right? That's really important.
Just to add on to what Ranjan said. So like when you are working with hardware related projects, like most of the time when you like power it on and the first try it would not work, right? So you have to do a lot of debugging, and you'll have to spend a lot of hours sometimes to figure out what's wrong. So sometimes it might be just one small mistake you had made, right? So to find that one mistake, you'll have to like spend a lot of hours, and it would be very tedious. But once you like finally figure out that problem, you would be very happy, right? And so as Ranjan said, so one thing is like when you are like, and like Ushan said, if there are different components, try to isolate different components and test different components individually. And once you know each and everything component is working, then you can put everything back together and see if the problem is resolved. And if not, then there are other resources also, like there are different websites like Stack Overflow and those kind of things for the software related stuff and all. And also most of the hardware manufacturers, they would have forums. For instance, like TI and all, they have a TI forum. So those in forums, a lot of people might have got the same issue as you have done, right? So by reading those forums, you would be able to like figure out what's the issue. And if not, you can actually post a question on that forum, and most probably someone from that company would reply, or someone from the community would reply. So like in the hardware, again, it would be like it would be very tedious to like when problems arise, but once you resolve that, it would be like very fulfilling.
Also, when you do a hardware project, there can be 100 times of failures, right? So then at least you learn 100 times how it failed, right? So that will be really important than Googling it, right?
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have come to the final question for today. Due to the time constraints, I apologize for not being able to entertain all the questions. And I think this question will be related to Niroshan, sir, but as previously mentioned, you all can share your insights based on the question. So the question will be how to develop an IoT product for harsh environments.
Yes. So this is like, if we like generalize it, not only for IoT. So as I mentioned, like when we are like when we are developing for a prototype and all, we can use any IC or any modules which are available, right? But when we actually put this product into the environment, right? So at that point, there can be a lot of failures. So because of that, so there are like if we take some ICs, right? So there are special ICs which are developed to be used in those kind of environments, right? So for especially like for automobile kind of things, right? So those are considered as harsh environments. So there are ICs which are developed. So the IC would do the same thing, but they have developed that for these harsh environments, right? So you'll have to like definitely use these kind of modules and components when you are like developing a product for harsh environments. And also for harsh environments, you would like there would be different certificates which they require, right? So for instance, this IP certificate, right? And the stress certificate. So those kind of when they are actually providing that certificate, they would actually check if you are actually using these kind of components in your design. I hope I answered the question.
Also, sometimes people ask, can Arduino use for industrial purpose? Or sometimes, yeah, that kind of problem. Actually, we can use that kind of a thing, but you have to follow the best practices when you design PCBs, and also when you purchase a component, especially you have to purchase component from recommended supplier, right? So otherwise it will not work. So normally in industry, people are using PLC, right? So instead of that, we can use some kind of a microcontroller project for the industry, but you have to think about the safety mechanism and a lot of things, EMI issues and a lot of things. Then you can use even Arduino for industrial purpose.
I'll just add something, a pretty simple thing for all of you to understand when you think of this harsh environment. I mean, think about a very simple thing like a phone. You know, your phone can be Apple, can be Android, can be anything. I mean, let's take a simple example, Android typical phone. You can buy a simple Android phone, which is with all the cameras and all the big things that you can play games and everything for about 30,000 rupees. But the same phone without any change at all, same phone, if you want to buy an industry graded phone, which is designed for harsh environments, it will be about 300,000, even will be much higher than that. Same phone that is 30,000, you can buy for 500,000 rupees, which is for rugged use cases and which is for industrial use cases. You might ask, why should you pay 500,000 rupees for this phone when you can buy the same thing in Pitakotua for 30,000 rupees? But those things are designed for a purpose. See, that phone will not crash when it falls down. It will be waterproof, really waterproof. It will not be scratched. You can use it in the snow as well as in the Sahara Desert. Those things are designed with a purpose. The resistors used on these devices will have probably not just 3 color lines, will have probably 5 color lines, will be absolutely sensitive. Those are defined with with a certain purpose. Those are expensive because it has a certain purpose. So if you think of doing IoT for a harsh environment, the problem might not be in the architecture. Sometimes the problem might be in the cost of selecting devices. Probably the simplest resistor that you are going to buy from Pitakotua is not going to be suitable for a rugged design. Probably the changes are sensitivity is not enough. Probably you will need to spend a lot of money to buy just a simple resistor. So the idea is not probably, sometimes idea of harsh environment is not mostly on the architecture. Probably the architecture is same, but probably you'll have to go deeper and understand the certifications, the ruggedness, the casing, how to make it waterproof, how to make it dust proof, what's the glass you are going to use here? Is it Gorilla glass? Is it really Gorilla? Right? Probably it should be the industry grade aluminum that you are going to use. So it's not almost always engineering, but other aspects. So if you are really new to this, good to learn about and talk about these things. But there's something called action without intuition is not going to do a lot of things. In fact, again, the simpler way of putting this is something like this: dreams without action is not going to add anything. And actions without dreaming is also much dangerous. So if you are a dreamer, that's very good, but put them into action. And if you are a person who can take action, be mindful, because action without a proper dream might not take you anywhere. Over to you, Niroshan. Ushan, you're trying to add something? Shameera, sorry.
Yes,
nicely. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I would just want to share something which I face, this kind of a harsh environment scenario. It's also like parameters, right? The harsh environment. You have to think about what tech set, because you have to think about if your device is going to be fixed on the top of the building, you don't want to make it waterproof. Like inside the top of the building, there won't be flat, there won't be rainy. So you have to also think about when we are designing that module for the generators, we had an issue like always our GSM device get malfunctions. So when we realized the scenario, it was due to the magnetic field generated from the generator. So we have to protect our device by having a special paint and the coil scenario to avoid that kind of magnetic fields coming into our processors. So you always have to parameterize what you are defining this harsh environment from what you want to protect your device. So think on that angle as well, all well explained. So I just wanted to share that experience what I had. Ushan.
Yeah, actually, I just want to say nicely explained. Thilina nicely explained the scenario. So this is it, right? When technology is something, right? You guys can learn technologies. There are no issue on that one. But thinking about why you need it, what I'm going to make with this thing is the real key. Okay, when come to enterprise world, it's not always technology. It's what you are going to make. So those things define your specs. So then you can go for your real engineering and become great engineer someday.
And also please remember when you are doing a device, your room is not the place where it's going to be fixed. It should be the exact industrial place. So you have to think from that angle. So in your room condition, it will work perfectly. And you will say it was working, but it's now not working. Just because you haven't identified your real environment. So think about it. You will learn a lot when you're coming to the IoT, because honestly, we are being in a hell when we are doing this research and developments. So as all explained, thank you.
It's always problem, and you will face a lot of problems and try to solve it. So this is engineering, right? Problem solving. So as Thilina mentioned, you have to take actions, right? Always do things, because we are not here because we didn't became engineers by one night, right? We had a lot of mistakes in our past because we tried those things. So you have to do these things again, and you have to figure out your own problems and carry on the journey. So that's how this way of engineering is working. It's about working and real actions.
Since Ushan mentioned this problem scenario, the one question I want to let explain that in that question, but I just gave up. But I think it's good to explain that nowadays the students and all are looking for the easiest way. There is no that kind of easiest way in this life. There can be a smarter way, but don't look for the easiest ways. All has problems. So if you go with the harder way, you will have a good product. You will have a good knowledge. End of the day, you need to have the passion in what you're doing. Then you won't have headaches. Because end of the day, if you have headaches like this device is not working, so we have failed long ago. But without the passion, I know these all the 5 speakers are here. There are a lot of passionate about this IoT and the industry. IT also, in the terms of IT, I define it as help. People are looking at, okay, oh, there are big jobs, we can earn a lot. By the surface, yes, you see that part. But it's like an iceberg. Behind the scene, under the sea scenario, water scenario, there's a lot of commitment, a lot of failures. So, we cannot discuss it in the words. So I hope the other 5 speakers also agree with me in that case.
And 100% actually, there are a lot of sleepless nights when it comes with bugs, right? Pretty much sure you all had the same thing. So it's about your commitment. You have to have true passion of what you're doing, and eventually you will enjoy your life. It's about always enjoying life. Being an engineer is a real fun thing if you have the true, the key of that real thing inside you. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it was our last question. We've got so many questions, but with the time constraints, we have not enough time to answer all the questions. So thank you very much for your curiosity and sending in so many questions. But due to the time constraints we have in the event, we can't answer for all questions we have. But as I previously said, when I start the program, you can search and find our guest speakers through their social media accounts like Facebook, LinkedIn, and send them a simple message and ask them for a proper time to discuss about your problems. For sure, they will give you their time to solve your problems. And also, you can follow our YouTube channel, IEEE IEEE Student Branch of SLTC YouTube channel. In there's the live stream recordings of the previous sessions of these guest speakers. You'll find when you rewatch them, you'll find more and more answers for your questions. So, and to get more information about the competition, the InnovMind Ideathon, you can register with the Ideathon, and we will send you all the necessary details via email. That brings us to the end of the Q&A session, and it means we have come to the end of our panel discussion. So I believe today was a memorable day. I personally learned a lot on our project today, on our topic about IoT today, because it was, we have 5 experts here. A huge thank goes to our guest speakers, Mr. Ranjan Kulathunga, Mr. Shameera Prajapriya, Mr. Thilina, Yapa, Bandara, Mr. Niroshan Karunaratne, and also Mr. Ushan Chaminda for taking time out of their busy schedules and gracing us with their presence here today. To show our appreciation for the support and dedication you've shown to make today's panel discussion a success, the organizing committee of InnovMind would like to issue a virtual token of appreciation for you all. I think, yes, I invite you all to accept the token of appreciation, and thank you, guest speakers who came us today and joined with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Niranjan.
Thank you
very much.
Okay, Kaminda, let's move on with the next events.
Yes, Niranjana. To deliver the vote of thanks, I would like to invite Deputy Secretary of InnovMind Organizing Team, Narada Kandavela. Narada, it's over to you.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone who are present here today participating in the panel discussion of InnovMind. I am much obliged to get this opportunity to thank all of the dignitaries who are present today. On behalf of the organizing committee of InnovMind, I would like to express my gratitude to all of the esteemed delegates who participated in today's panel discussion and throughout the InnovMind workshop series, both of their presence and for their enormous contribution to making this event a huge success. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude towards all the honorable experts that assisted InnovMind. Mr. Ranjan Kulathunga, Mr. Shameera Prajapriya, Mr. Niroshan Karunaratne, Mr. Thilina Bandara, and Mr. Ushan Chaminda. Thank you for the great insight you shared with us today on IoT. I hope and know that all of the participants today benefited greatly for your thought-provoking and also interesting sessions. Dear sirs, the utmost dedication and assistance that you've given has surely resulted for the great success of our event. So I would like to lengthen my warmest gratitude and appreciation for all that you have provided. I'm also utterly grateful for Mr. Timen Pereira, Chairman of IEEE, Student Branch of SLTC, Mr. Sasha Senara, Chairman of IEEE IAS Chapter of SLTC, and Mr. Sarindu Shehan, the Student Advisor of Project InnovMind. For the great support and assist rendered, I thank them minute-to-minute support and guidance for encouraging at every point in time in organizing this event. Next, I would like to express my most sincere thanks to Zone 24/7 for gracing this event as our platinum sponsor and Impact IT Solution for being our valued gold sponsor. Without your generous financial support, InnoMind wouldn't have reached these heights and be successful today. An event of these dimensions can't happen overnight, and it was possibly only because of my fellow colleagues of the organizing committee. So last but not the least, I thank the organizing committee of Project InnoMind for their greatest efforts to make the event a success. I cannot thank each one enough of their involvement they've shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of the work beyond their comfort zone. I would also like to thank the moderators of the evening, Niranjana Rakshmi, Manula Rajapaksa, and Kaminda Pereira for their effort towards a great anchoring. It has been a pleasure to host all the participants of InnoMind who join us from all over the country and all over the world. The participants were very enthusiastic, and I'm thankful for their active participation in the series. I would also like to make this a chance to invite you all to join the final phase of InnoMind, the Ideathon, to compete and win valuable prizes and certificates. So once again, thank you all for contributing to make InnoMind a great success. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Narada. And we have come to the end of our panel discussion today's session. And also, I want to remember we have completed as the Ideathon Organizing Committee. I want to remember we have completed our introductory webinar on IoT with Mr. Thilina Bandara and the workshop series about IoT with Mr. Ranjan Kulathunga, Mr. Ushan Chaminda, Mr. Niroshan Karunaratne, Mr. Shameera Prajapriya, and also Mr. Isuru Lakshan Samarasinghe with previous days. You all can rewatch those workshop series and also the introductory webinar via our official Facebook page, and also the IEEE student branch of SLTC YouTube channel. So finally, on behalf of the IEEE Industry Application Society Student Branch Chapter of Sri Lanka Technological Campus, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you found this panel discussion very useful, and I personally thank our guest speakers for coming today and encourage our participants to make their career with IoT. And also, I want to invite you all to participate with the Ideathon, the competition of InnovMind, and win cash prizes and valuable certificates. Every participant of the Ideathon will be able to receive a valuable certificate. So thank you very much to all who participate and join us today. I'm Niranjana Rashmi. Signing off until we meet next time. There will be this will not be the end. We will organize the last closing ceremony of InnovMind in there. We will announce who are the winners of Ideathon, and we'll give them their cash prizes and valuable certificates and awards. So signing off until we meet next time in the closing ceremony of InnovMind. Stay home and stay safe, everyone.
Recording stopped.